All right, everybody, welcome back to Late Night Magic Monday. My name is Seth Cross here with Praetor Gaming, and tonight I'm joined by my friend. Hey, Paul, how are you?
Doing all right, Seth. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm tired, but I also I only worked 2 days this week, and it's today and then Friday, so I guess I shouldn't complain. But tonight we actually
All
Paul's
right.
here to talk about a very cool topic. It's a topic of his own design. Well, it's a topic of a group design, but he's definitely let's see, I'm in the military. What's the dumbest way to say this? He's honchoing it, I believe, is like the silliest thing I've ever heard. Spearheading, quarterbacking. Um,
Yeah, I'm. Uh, I think the common vernacular is I'm the architect of the league design.
yeah, there you go.
I had the general idea, and I ran with it.
You know what? You know what? I've tried to see somebody. I've seen somebody try to put on their eval before. He's Supermaning this new idea. Superman is now a verb.
That one, that's good.
It didn't make it through, by the way.
Yeah, that makes sense actually.
Yeah, Superman did not make it on anybody's finalized eval.
That's actually really funny because in college orientation, I have to be wearing a Superman shirt for one thing, and this presenter we had tried saying, if someone gives you a nickname the first day of college, it just sticks. He's like, for instance, that guy, he's Superman. that name stuck for like 2 hours.
And then it was promptly forgotten by whatever else was going on during orientation.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. We actually had someone who actually did get that nickname, but he brute forced it. He wore a Superman shirt every day for literally every day I ever saw him.
Oh, see, look, you got it, and he got jealous. He was like, no, I can't be Batman. I have to be Superman.
Something like that. I started with an S, but I think that was what he was going for brand. Like it actually stands for his name, not Superman.
It's like his name is.
Just thought it was a funny quirk.
Yeah, his name's like Scott or something. He's like, no, it's S for Scott, and no, it's S for stupid, because that's no, I'm just kidding.
Exactly.
Get a little aggro here. Anyway, so the topic that we are going to be going over is how would you paraphrase it? Because I could give the name out, but I don't think the name without context, I should say, kind of does it justice.
Actually, you know what? I think the story of how it came to be is probably the best way because we were seeing the. I can't remember what the pro event was, but I remember like a lot of people were talking about like what tournament level EDH would look like, and one of those threads, I'm like, that feels like just CDH to me. I don't like if what I want is something where I can play something that feels competitive for casual people.
Yeah,
and I said myself, you know what? Would do that exactly. I want to play Pokemon with Magic cards. And so that's how we had the EDH Pokemon League form. I said basically the original premise was hopefully at a live event someday, but right now it's going to be virtual. You'd go and you'd play games of Magic and you'd earn badges, which we ended up calling signets. And whoever earns the first 10 gets to challenge the Elite Four. And we ended up adopting that promise somewhat and buying because right now it's a virtual league because it's not safe to go outside for a lot of folks.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's a lot easier to get a large group without a large event if you do it virtually.
Yeah. This
and we had.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say the other thing was that post got a lot of likes, and I had a lot of saying, "Yes, I want to challenge this league," or "I want to vote to be this gym leader." And, I had half a roster of gym leaders signed up before I even created the Discord.
Yeah. So I was going to say before that this summer has definitely seen a very huge rise in it. I didn't even know it was being called VEDH, and that's V Victor. But for like virtual or video EDH, I just finally did my first attempt at it last Friday, and it went okay. Minus, getting my rear end handed to me the entire time. But it's definitely something that we're seeing a huge surge of right now. And I feel like even, if somebody watches this like months down the road and hopefully the pandemic is over, we're recording this like kind of at the tail end of 2020. So COVID's been the thing. Hopefully even after this is, said and done and in the past, I think VEDH will still become a big thing. I think Spell Table and the other websites that have kind of like made themselves known for being able to do this really well. There's no reason to like stop doing them, especially a lot of people are connecting with new friends online and stuff like that. So I can definitely see it's something like, especially for this kind of idea where when you think about like the Pokemon games, right? The regions are these geographically huge areas, right? They're basically like countries. It's something that kind of,
Right, exactly.
yeah, like you kind of get that feeling from like playing, for instance, Valdor, who I know is one of the gym leaders or guild leaders, I should say, is out in Washington State, whereas I'm on the East Coast. So like you get that feel of traveling the region to battle people. So it kind of does lend into the whole thing if you really think about it.
Yeah, it really does. And, I think just for the longevity of VEDH, like your local LGS is like one night that is like their like command night. And if that night doesn't work in your schedule, or, a lot of times it's like a weeknight. And when we're out of COVID times, if you commute home from work and then you have to like get dinner in and whatever you have to do at night, it might be hard to get there on a Wednesday night, which, that's when my LGS is. I usually like once a month before COVID is what I do. But you can just schedule at your leisure, and you don't even have to leave your house, and you can find a game with anybody. I feel like that's going to be a real value for it moving forward. The big obstacle in the tech for it.
Yeah.
And I know, right when the pandemic started, we thought this would be like a 2-3 month stint. We had people like the Spike Feeders and actually our guild leaders, Josh, they posted an article on Bleeding Cool to make a stand out of one of those bundle packs. Just like get like a scissors or an X-Acto knife, and you cut some slits the size of your phone, and boom, that's actually my setup, is that box. So like I'm not gonna be a Twitch streamer, but I can play the league.
Yeah, I actually that was the initial thing that I tried when I was trying to do my one for Friday, and it kind of worked, but my phone is like kind of heavy between the case and everything. Like I have a fairly like thick phone.
Yeah.
So like the concept worked.
The counterweighting is the trick.
Yeah. Well, even like the cardboard started like wearing down as I like pulled it in and out of the box and everything.
Oh yeah, I didn't think about that.
So the setup I wound up using, I mean, it does work. It just took a little bit of extra ingenuity. I've seen some people get really clever and crafty with it. I've seen everything from like planks of wood with weights, like dumbbells as counterweights and stuff. So some people are out there, they're making it work.
But my personal favorite was Angelo's cam setup, the one where he counterbalanced it with the weight of a second webcam. I thought that was just funny. He balanced his webcam by strapping a webcam to it.
I'll get another webcam and I'll tell the new webcam what an idiot the old one was. That's all. That's pretty
gotta be I think he must have like taken his. It must be like a webcam he used to have or something. I don't imagine he bought a new one for it.
It's got to be like an older.
What's about this weight?
Yeah, it's got to be like an older resolution or something that won't look as good. And of course, in VEDH, like the more clear your picture is, the better, because then it makes seeing obviously your board a little bit easier. Although I know for mine, like glare and everything was awful. Can't imagine people were able to like read my cards.
Right. The problem is you either have glare or you have no light, and there's really hard to get in between because all sleeves are reflective. And I mean, I guess if you're comforting your home, you could play with unsleeved cards. I'm still probably. I'm from the age of playing on sidewalks without sleeves because there were penny sleeves and nothing else. So like, I have an easier time imagining that than some folks, I guess.
So, I know a lot of people out there like have budget decks or super expensive decks depending on like where they fall in like the power level. And I'm actually gonna look up one of my decks because just because you said playing without sleeves, I just want to check the price of one of my decks really quick to see what it is now.
Right.
I used to have an old Edgar Markov deck.
While you're doing that, my friend Andy's cards with sidewalk scratches in the chat. Fun fact, last time when I started back in Magic again, he said you can have this, and it was Cabal Coffer. I traded him in middle school. It still has a tear that I put on it when I was like shuffling my unsleeved cards. At the time it was $3. I didn't care. But now it's like what, a $60 card. So
Yeah, something like that. So I just want to say, so
yeah,
Edgar
now with that tear
Markov,
on it.
the deck I used to run in paper, is currently sitting at anywhere from $700 to $840. So even playing at home, I don't know if I would really want to play that on I mean, granted, like it's on a playmat and everything, so it would probably be fine overall. But
Right. That's one of those things where, like, I think you choose your deck very carefully if you're doing that. Like, my Slimefoot deck is mostly uncommons.
Mm-hmm.
I think the most valuable thing I have in there, it might be my Ashnod's Altar.
Yeah, I can see that.
And I don't even know what printing of it I have. So, like, I think it's that and a Utopia Mycon. Like, basically, I have a bunch of stuff that's like $5.
Yeah.
So I'm not super worried about it.
I ran a Slimefoot deck in 3DH, which is our $3 Highlander that we do on Thursdays, and obviously that's based on Magic Online prices, right? So I'm not saying that the deck in paper would cost $3,
Right.
but it still wasn't like every once in a while I'll compare, like I'll put one of my deck lists into Deck Stash just to see what the paper value would be, because every once in a while I'll get people like asking me like, hey, why don't you try to get like the Commander Versus guys to use one of your 3DH decks, and I'm like, it doesn't translate as well when they're playing it in paper, and it's like, here's this $400 deck, but it would cost you $3 online to make. It doesn't have the same impact, I guess, for most people.
Actually, EDH makes a very unique case because they talk a lot about like card price and availability for like people were talking about whether or not to be waiting for the Commander Rules Committee or whatever, and if they took that into case, Magic Online is a whole different monster with that. Like a card that's, like you said, how much is really expensive? I'm trying to remember from the video you said a while back. It was like, what, $40, $50 cards are like less than half a tick.
Well, so my favorite example ever is always going to be Vampiric Tutor, which I can look up.
That was the one, yeah.
Yeah.
And that'll be even cheaper because it's going to reprint.
Yeah. So right now, the lowest listing that I see is $47. But does it show up on screen? It doesn't. So the Tix prices though, and this isn't the Scryfall doesn't pull the pricing from the website that we use for the data, which is GoatBots, but the lowest pricing off of Scryfall is 26 cents online. So your $48 card is like a quarter. Even at that price, and I think for this season it's 4 cents for us, as far as like budgeting goes.
Right.
So massively different. It's a weird world out here in the virtual reality, I guess.
Right.
But getting back to
kind of roll things back to, I was gonna say, yep. So 3DH is totally adaptable for this league. There's no construction restrictions. The only thing, we do have a couple of house rules we're implementing you couldn't do on MTGO. Besides those things, like if you just wanted to play like the Pokemon League with the general structure, you absolutely could, because basically the general structure we have is we're going to have our 10 guild leaders. Each one is playing a guild colored deck. So we have Orzhov, Azorius, etc. And then you have basically each of them is going to have like a scheduled day or days where you can challenge them. And we have in our Discord channel, so you can say, I want to chat. Like the gym leader could be like, I'm available Tuesday. Who wants to play me? And they can like organize a match that way. Like right now, like, and once you get this far, still can play it on MTGO. But then we ended up adding. We were talking about ways to make it so maybe people won't spike. And so what we added was a thing called a guild hall.
Mm-hmm.
And so the idea is that, if you're familiar with like the Plane Chase cards from Plane Chase, and basically every person is designing a guild hall. We're kind of like workshopping them together, so like it doesn't make anything super powerful.
Yeah,
and be designed to like kind of maybe give the game a twist where somebody can't just walk in, drop their combo deck. Like there's an X factor they can't account for as easily. And we have somebody. I made a note here of some of them. We have one that's basically just Rites of Flourishing is always on the table. And another one where First Blood creates a Monarch. So you don't have to have a card for Monarch. Just you deal combat damage and Monarch becomes on the table.
I like that.
Those are two of the examples I got just looking at our Discord of what people have thrown out there. Yeah, I like that one a lot too.
I mean, let's be
actually,
real. That should just be the rule.
Discords about. I did Moxtober for October, and one of the cards I designed was a land that introduced Monarch when it ETB'd, and everyone was like, "No, it needs to like the cheapest." I'm like, "Well, I disagree with that. I don't think it should cost. I don't think it should cost 4. I think it costs 4 because of the draft environment they were designing that set for. You know, and they ended up thinking, I think the cheapest thing we have in Commander Legends is they have a 3 CMC thing that introduces the Monarch. You know, so I don't hard at 4 just so I can have it. So, you know, like I think the idea of just having it be on the table is great. Mm-hmm. You know, it's not like the tricky part is the fact that you don't want to have it before anyone can attack, which is I think was the objective there. And having it tied to first blood makes it a lot easier for that.
So I feel the need to ask, is the Monarch one, is that the like Boros rule, or is it that the rules you can like pick and choose?
So each guild leader, like they were given like, okay, we'll design what you think would work based on like what your commander is or what your color needs. But, you know, it has to be something that at least one of your colors does. Okay. So like I suggested to our Selesnya person, you know, get a popular, like the Gary one, Baldur. And I know he's on the fence about whether or not he's going to stick with it at the moment, I think. But, you know, I suggested, you know, could you populate? He's like, but that's a Selesnya. I'm like, well, mono green can populate, and Gary has green. And populate isn't something Golgari gets to. It just doesn't do as well as Selesnya does.
Yeah. And I mean, Golgari does token strategies as well. Black has zombies, rats, all kinds of other things, thralls, you know, et cetera, harpies.
Exactly. So I didn't want folks to get caught up in like, well, this keyword doesn't match up to my guild exactly. It's like, as long as there is a card in your color that does this without needing another color, I think that's fine.
Yeah.
You know, and we've seen some cool ideas. Those are the 2 that I remembered. You know, I actually ended up changing guilds to like match people, and I might not even be one. I might sub for Baldur if he's not going to stick with it. You know, but one of the ones I was going to do that we didn't end up keeping was giving everyone's first spell each turn has to invoke. Was going to be what I did for Selesnya, but the Selesnya person doing something different now.
Okay. I was actually going to say, with the ability to tweak what ability or what mechanics, I guess, come from what color, I'm wondering how a Boros Convoke style like deck would work, because Boros is really good at tokens too, for like, you know, Soldier Tribal and stuff like that. So it would be interesting to see, you know, some Boros commander that just pumps out, you know, a bunch of 1/1s and then uses those 1/1s as ramp, because, you know, one of the things we've all talked about to death is things that Boros needs is ramp and card draw.
I don't get isn't, you know, not to dig too deep into this should have been a white card thing, but Chief Engineer is a blue creature that gives artifacts convoke. And what if they just said, what if we have a white legend that your first spell each turn has convoke? And that would have been a great mono white legend. And it does a thing mono white does. You know, it's color high.
Mm-hmm. Especially if it had been like artifact spells, because white does deal with artifacts. So, I mean, you could really have just had it say your first spell has convoke, and that would have been fine. But I'm sure somebody somewhere would have been like, well, white needs to tie more into white or something silly. So you could have been like, well, what about like artifact spells then? Because white does a lot with artifacts. I mean, so does blue and so does red, but white does it a lot too.
Yeah, like there's definitely design space there. The other one, and we saw a little bit with Theros Beyond Death, we had a single creature who cost less, like for your devotion. You know, so we could have just as easily seen like maybe Heliod, and his effect was the first spell you cast costs X less for X is your devotion to white or something. That's another route that they could go that I'd like to see. And that's also something like it's harder. Like it would still like it if it was worded the way, it wouldn't get rid of the colored mana.
Yeah,
but it wouldn't be free. It would still be the first one. It kind of falls in the same realm as Convoke, but there's one less hoop to jump through. So maybe not that exact card, but something in that wheelhouse.
I wonder if they could have made it like cost like 1 generic less per enchantment you had, because it would be great for, you know, Bant and Selesnya Enchantress decks. But it would be a really cool white card for auras, for enchantment
decks.
Like
a reverse Terrasega, yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if that could be something.
Like a reverse spell. Now that's a good area too. Like I feel like that could be like half of a stream right there, just talking about the ways you could do Simic things.
I know we're gonna have to do this on have you back and do another topic. So what made you guys?
You get Kristen for
that one. What ultimately made you guys settle on?
She'll be having her breakfast.
I'm sorry.
She'll be having breakfast and you'll be having this stream.
Oh, yeah, that's true. But I think she would get a kick out of the conversation.
She watches the VOD. She's probably asleep right now.
Yeah. So what ultimately made the decision to settle on guild colors? Because you could have, I guess mono colors wouldn't have worked as well, because in Pokemon it's 8 gym leaders, and of course with guilds you have 10 options, so it's closer than 5. You know, I guess if you wanted to do colorless, you would have had 6, and then it would have been either way, either 2 over or 2 under. But regardless. But then there's also like the shards and wedges, which I know there was some conversation in Discord about that for like a future iteration. But what ultimately made like Ravnica's guild structure like the way to go?
A couple of things. First thing would be just if it would be easier for anyone who like needed a whole to just build a 2-color deck. But the biggest thing was just like in terms of like the what's the word I'm looking for? The repainting of all of the Pokemon terminology to Magic terminology just lined up really nicely, because so you have gym leaders became. There was some discussion on our Discord whether or not they were called guild leaders or guild masters. We stuck with guild leaders because, frankly, it's close enough.
Yeah.
Nice little mana rock you could tie it into for all 10 of them or anything. Creative, because I actually drafted possible rules for variants of this, and because people were like, "Oh, I want to do shards and wedges," or I want to do something all tribal. I even came up with a Kylum one where it would be like everyone play, like instead of like having a guild leader, you just have like everybody plays varying games. Like you play and this one would not work in VEDH. So I was looking for like, okay, well, how much can I relabel this? And so, signets were badges and gym leaders were guild leaders. And, eventually guild halls kind of work too, as like the idea of like, that's the gym. Mm-hmm. So, that rebranding works really well. And, it doesn't have to be there. That's just kind of like, I was kind of going for that like artist touch of, if people wanted to pick this up, to be like my model to show them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you wanted the structure on like, it's easy to relate it to a structure that you've already seen in the Pokemon games if you can relate it, like if you can make those correlations in terminology in like the different like pieces of it. So I could see how that would be helpful, especially if somebody's coming in that's either new to EDH or new to Magic in general. So
right. And something else we consider, and this was tossed out in the early part, was we discussed whether or not the people entering the league would also be restricted to, in their case, it would be mono or 2-color decks. Mm-hmm. We decided they didn't need to, but obviously, if that was something we wanted to do, doing like 3 or any like the more colors we added, the harder it would have been to like necessarily find people. Yeah. I remember one person specifically said to me in the original thing, "I only have a monocolored deck." Mm-hmm. That's fine. You can play in the league.
Yeah. I think I just had this thought, so this comes out of left field. I apologize, but it kind of actually correlates because in Pokemon, right, each of the Pokemon have up to 2 types. I don't think I've ever seen anything that has 3 types. So sometimes they have 1, a normal type or a pure flying type or something, or a fire type or something like that. But Pokemon at most have 2, and that's also another like unique, coincidental similarity between the 2 concepts.
So, and I wish Angela was in the chat to correct me if I'm wrong here, but there are did we give them the 3rd type? So like some of them like have like a thing that turns their attacks, like the normal type attacks, into a type that maybe isn't their type. And I think one of them, their ability is like they're all types or something. I'm less sure on that one, because my knowledge of Pokemon gets more and more rudimentary once you get past the first 3 games.
Yeah. I don't know, like I think like moves aside, right? Because you'll have some Pokemon that can know moves from another type. What's a really good, like the Nidorans, I think, are a good example because they're poison. Oh yeah, that's a really good one too.
Yeah, Starmie, we were just talking about that one in the Discord, because Starmie is a water psychic type, but most water types can learn ice.
Yep.
And in Gen 1, competitive Starmie would usually have a water move, ice beam, and then your choice of a psychic move, a fire move, and electric move.
Yeah.
So basically you have like 4 different types, and it can learn those 5 really easy. And because they just care about a stat, you lose a little bonus, but the competitive Starmie back in Gen 1 was vicious. Also recover, which is, you don't use items in competitive, but I didn't play competitive Pokemon. I just know of it.
Yeah. But I would think that those little type breaks are more like things within the colors, right? That are like color pride bends and breaks. You know what I mean? Like Beast Within, for instance, is not supposed to be green. It's supposed to be white, even though it took us, how many years to get Generous Gift. But again, another topic for another time. Should have been a white card.
Right.
But stuff like that.
Yeah,
like
what's really funny is Go
ahead.
I was gonna say my favorite white removal card is actually Oblation, the pretty Beast Within.
Yeah.
It shuffles something in and they draw 2 cards. And this is one time where I'm actually saying it should have been a blue card. Because blue doesn't really have any hard removal. It's like the best it can do is shuffle something in. And I was saying that to someone. I'm like, wait a minute, Oblation does that. Now we have Generous Gift. Just give Oblation to blue. They'll be so happy they have a disenchant.
I don't know. If anything, it should almost be red, right? Because it's close to Chaos Warp. Like instead of getting a permanent drawing 2 cards.
Right, but I think the reason they didn't give that to red is because you could tuck your own thing to draw 2 cards.
Oh yeah. I guess. I always assumed.
I think that's why, and that's actually it makes it one of the best card draw spells in white.
I always kind of assumed that anytime like you look at a card that is any color but white or red, and you think, why isn't this a white or red card? I just assumed it's because they didn't want the colors to be good. So
Oh, like that turtle in Commander Legends.
Oh, let's. First of all, you don't talk about Master Uguay like that, all right? Oh God, I don't know how to spell his name.
I think it's a. I think Yertle the Turtle is great, but they actually said when they were asked about the card design that it was going to be white, but he wanted the zombie tokens to enter on top. They said, not even my words.
Is that really the reason for zombie tokens?
Yeah, because no, that's so. What happened was someone asked Gavin Verhey about it. They literally asked Gavin, "Why is this not a white card?" And Gavin was like, "Well, I didn't design this card. Let me tag the guy who designed it." And the guy's like, "Well, it started out we wanted this to be cool stuff like untapped zombie tokens when they enter the battlefield." And that was his explanation for why this isn't a white card.
Wow.
Was if it's simple.
So
like, I don't get me wrong, I love it. He just really should have been a white card, literally.
They could have made it an Esper card. Like if they wanted to drop green for white. It could have been that way. Although I guess
that's true.
I guess the whole like things No. Amulet of Vigor is an artifact. I was about to say Amulet of Vigor, which doesn't even sound like a green card. But yeah. I don't know. You got me distracted talking about Sultai cards.
I don't know.
You tricked me.
Yeah.
This is going in my Sidisi deck. I'm tempted to make this my own deck.
Sax is going to be a very interesting deck. That's why I'm calling it Yertle the Turtle. The deck is Yertle the Turtle.
I forget who did it. I don't think it was ALK, but somebody already did the whole altar of Master Uguay on there, and it's nice. I want it.
I saw a couple of them. Yeah. I suggested that to ALK, but it looks like he had like medical stuff start happening around the time he would have been able to work on it. That's probably why he didn't get to it. Yeah. And ALK, if you are watch the VOD, I hope that you're doing well, man.
Yeah, man.
I love those altars. I think it's like they were trying to set it up that way. It looked exactly like an Uguay art.
Right, like the staff. Okay, I'm gonna bring it back up. The staff and everything. He's doing the little like spirity thing with his hand. This is so Uguay. The longer neck, everything.
Yeah,
you can't bring up Sultai really cards. Like
yeah, I know. It's okay. It's actually really funny. If you've listened to Shabam's Casual Magic podcast, he's always like, "Oh, we always get off topic." And it's like, that's okay. If you guys are having fun, that's what we're here to listen to.
Yeah. That's true.
But to circle back, like, yeah, that was the only requirement I put for the guild hall is you need to be able to justify it under one of your colors.
Okay.
You know, and everyone's been really good with that. I've seen some creative ideas. I saw some ideas where, like, I've suggested some tweaks because, you know, I had concerns about, like, maybe making the queue unfun.
Yeah.
You know, because there are some high power level commanders where it's like, if we give this deck too much power in the guild hall, it could be a concern. Just look at my list here. Some of our like more commonly in competitive circles commanders, we have Brago and we have Una, Queen of the Fae. Like those two are very much, and also Croxa. So is it Croxa? Croxa.
Either way,
I'm not 100% sure on the pronunciation. So like those three, I know have the potential to be like wrecking balls if you built their deck strong enough.
Yeah.
You know, and we've had the conversations about power level on the back end about, like, you know, try and shoot for like casual and strong, but don't like lean toward competitive. You know, if we're going to put a number on it, which I know folks are like 50-50 on, you know, a 6 or a 7, don't go higher than a high 7. You know, so like that's one of those things, and that's why I keep calling this a test run of the league. You know, until you have like some vetting and streamlining. I think like especially like the turn 0 conversation thing has the most opportunity to be not effective here.
Yeah.
You know, and that was one of the big discussion points for the league too, is, you know, how do we handle like establishing the power level is like a rules way, and so we talked about like the guild halls are part of it. And part of it was just like a social contract thing. You know, if someone comes in and tries to punt the league, well, they're not going to be invited back, one. And there's a very good chance that after the second or third time that they come in and try and combo the table out, they are going to be playing arch enemy for the rest of the league. So, you know, hopefully the idea that you need to be a good sport about playing, it just rings true. But the other thing we did, and it ended up being part because we didn't want people to just feel like they had to spike the league, but also because having 4 different people grind games against 10 different people for commander things could be very grindy. We added achievements. And this is like commonly suggested for a lot of EDH leagues, but especially because we're kind of leaning into a video game theme, I really liked it. So what we're going to do is, you know, we're going to have like a sheet of, we're aiming for 25. As of this morning, we had 20, so we need to figure out 5 more before Saturday. The first game is theoretically this Saturday. That's when our first guild leader, Clark, who I believe is still in the chat, you know, they said that they'd be available as early as Saturday for people to challenge. So if you complete 5 achievements in the same game and you do not win, be able to basically claim the signet because you proved to the guild leader that your logic for how that's going to work. But basically, you have a non-competitive path to earn up to 5 of your 10 signets that way if you actually check every single. You won't be allowed to repeat, and they're only tracked if you get 5 in the same game. Okay. I know some folks in the Discord have gotten confused because they've gotten crisscrossed between the whip versions of the rules where we're throwing out ideas and what got committed. So, you know, that's the final version. I'm not going to throw out any of the whips to confuse people watching.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, so we do have some cool achievements, things. We tried to make them all like you could achieve most of them, just like having any deck can probably get most of them. Enough that you can probably get at least 2 signets or so. You know, so things like control 10 or more permanents at the same time. You know, that's like basically the city's blessing, or you know, have 20 or more cards in your graveyard. You know, even if you're not playing a graveyard deck, at some point you'll probably have that. You know, so like a bunch of them are like, as long as you're looking for it, you'll probably check 2 to 3 of these without even trying. It's just a matter of making sure you have 5 in one game.
You basically want it to be something that isn't game warping. You don't want people trying to hit achievements specifically, so that's what their deck's designed to do, and then like they falter on either having a valid plan to put up a fight or even close out a game. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Now, my logic here was that you'd probably say, okay, what deck am I running, and which of these achievements am I able to get if they aren't dumb luck? You know, so, like, for example, the only one we tried most of them. My methodology was they either need to be something that can be achieved by anybody, to be achieved by a very specific, like, common commander strategy. Like we have some counter-based ones, and I think some token-based ones. Or, like, specifically, if we had at least one guild hall that would enable it, so there's at least one game where you could earn it without having to change your deck. So we have a Monarch one because we know that Monarch will be introduced in at least one game you're going to have to play. So, like, not saying, like, necessarily, the Boros game is the one you're going to have to get your achievements in. But, you know, that's for, if you like, there's Monarch cards people just run in Commander. So if someone introduces it some other way, you have the ability to get it.
Yeah, especially so how are the decks working? Are the decks basically locked in once the event begins?
The guild leaders, we're locking them in now. We asked everybody to compile their lists into a deck building website like Architect or Tapped Out. And so they'll be able to, we'll have those lists in front of us. We're also asking the challengers to do the same thing. They are going to be locked in once they play their first game. But if they get into the league and they realize, oh, this deck is not what I want to be playing, or maybe they try doing the thing where they punt out of the league, like a combo deck or something, and decide that's not fun, they can start over with a new deck by forfeiting all their signets.
Oh, wow.
So maybe if you get through 2 or 3 of them and you think your deck is just not fun to play, you don't have to stick with that deck for 7 more signets. You can change and just grind 3 over or whatever.
Okay.
It's not ideal, but we wanted to leave a valve. So
I think there's probably also going to be a thought process point where after this point I'm kind of locked in and I'm going to try to get to the end, or okay, I haven't hit that point, so do I want to make that decision now? You know what I mean?
Exactly. And so I think definitely my guess would be probably those first 3, because that would be the point where you either also there's a good chance where if you just lose out every single one, you won't care because this deck's clearly not working in this league.
Yeah.
We want to leave an option for if you're playing something too competitive or something that's not working, you can change.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a fair compromise.
Yeah, I appreciate the fact that it is both ways. On one hand, you want people to have fun and to be able to be a challenge, but on the other hand, you don't again, this goes into the whole this is supposed to be for fun. Yes, it's a league or a contest or a competition, but it's really not meant to be something that you take too seriously, right? There's no real prizes. There's no prize money on the line.
Right. We did talk about participation prizes people could buy into, but we hadn't really untabled that discussion. So there are no prizes. That was the plan, was no prizes, but we did talk about maybe participation prize or just finding something. So one of the things we looked at that we haven't finalized is there are 3D printing templates for making I think it was keychains of the guild signet symbols. So if somebody do that, here's all the signets I earned in the league, we could probably have them printed to order if we could find a printer.
You could even look into Kaya, right? Kaya Vest.
Right. Yeah. So Kaya's where the conversation started.
Okay.
She doesn't have the means to do it right now.
Gotcha.
Wise or otherwise. So she has stuff. I'm going to talk about it once the league list is finalized. But that's something where it's just a maybe right now. It's we may do participation rewards.
Okay. Somebody did ask in the chat, what about swapping out 1 or 2 cards? Is there a plan of minor tweaks to where your deck is dominantly the same, but maybe a card you if people start taking Torment the Hellfire out of all their decks, it's just the right thing to do, something like that.
I see what you're saying. It's a great question. So we hadn't really discussed that one. I'll definitely take that back to our guild leader chat. I think that most leagues usually do. If you start with something a lot of times EDH leagues and LGS, you buy a pre-con and then you have the ability to buy a booster pack in that or something. So I'm going to talk to my guild leaders about that. It's a great suggestion. I'm going to write it down. And we'll probably come up with something where you might be able to rotate some cards and post an updated deck list. But that's I can't make a promise till I talk to folks. I try not to make decisions on my own. I try to at least have 2 or 3 people sign off on it and say, yes, I like this idea as is. Yeah, I don't want to be the tyrant who runs the Pokemon League.
I think that's just overall a good management style, because that way you get other people's insight and their perspectives and stuff. And that's not to say anything bad about any one person's perspective or insight, just different experiences and stuff like that. You have the benefit of working with people all over the world, because again, this is virtually done, so you get the benefit of that worldly kind of experience to kind of chime in on everything. I was thinking as a again, just as a runoff from the question, you could think of doing something like having a sideboard that gets approved beforehand, cards that people are thinking about changing in or something like that. It doesn't necessarily have to be 15 cards. It could be more because it's Commander. It could be less just because Commander's not really meant to have sideboards. but you're not really like, it's not like match sideboards, right? So it's, and obviously like wishes still won't work for sideboards or anything like that, but just something that like if you get into 3 games and you're like, man, I keep seeing this one card and it's a dud, or like I really think the synergy with one of these other cards that I had listed as potentially working in this deck, why don't I try and slot them in for like the next couple of games and stuff like that.
Idea. I'm just write down sideboard question mark, because that's a good choice, especially because I know we talked a minute ago about like if you like didn't like how your deck was playing, having to forfeit out entirely.
Yeah.
You know, but I think the middle ground of like have a maybe board of like 15, 20 cards, and you can swap those cards around freely between matches. That might be fine.
Yeah, because that gives you like in between matches, that gives you a chance to kind of like tweak your deck a little bit, and then if you get to that 4th game, right, like you're about to go up on your 4th game and you're still not happy, he's like, all right, sorry, I'm gonna start over.
Yeah, that's let them have a chance to experiment with it. So I like that idea, and I'm definitely gonna take that to the Discord and see if some of my other guild leaders and admins think it's a good idea. It sounds like you do, and you're one of the admins, but let's get a couple other opinions too.
Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna chime in, of course. I'm gonna say how great of an idea it was.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Sorry, everybody. Seth and I just have taken over the league.
Yeah,
before us.
I did make a joke when Valdor showed up and he started wanting to participate. I made the joke that we were going to be Team Praetor instead of Team Rocket. So I mean that's from an administrative point of view. I'll be Giovanni.
That's funny. That's funny. I would love to like if we were like the freedom of like doing it like at an event where people just goofing around all weekend. I could see like getting really into like the role play aspect of that.
Yeah,
actually having like a Team Rocket to show up, like they're the people. It's like you don't know who they are, but they show up, they spike the game, and then they like to protect the world from devastation and drop like a rocket logo on the game as they leave. I can see that as like a goof.
You gotta have like a button or a zip up like jacket or hoodie or shirt or something. Just, boom, big R.
Yeah, so like I could definitely see it doing that as like just have a couple people who are intentionally spiking the games as a goof, just like, and then they walk away and a real contestant walks in. Like, that could be fun.
Or like how Jesse and James get defeated all the time and they blast away. If you defeat the rocket person, they reveal, and then a contestant actually sits in the game.
That's a back path. That's one of the achievements is counts as 5 achievements. You eliminate a member of Team Rocket. You don't know who they are until you defeat them, so it's just like dumb luck you happen to get it.
Yeah. Oh man, you're making me like miss events now.
And I actually have never been to an event and I miss events. Like I took my break from Magic back when like I took it like and like at the time like my LGS didn't even like literally just a comic. They didn't have a play area, I don't think.
Yeah, that's pretty much how I started with Magic.
Like when I come back to Magic and all the structure is there.
Yeah. That's very much how it was for me. As a kid, I went to like a comic book store and there was some Magic stuff there, and like they did have a few singles that were like in the glass case and everything, but it's nowhere near like what you see nowadays. Like when you talk about an LGS, a lot of the time Magic is the main source of income. I would think for these stores. At least I think my LGS, which is Curio Cavern, like 10 minutes away. I would imagine that Magic's like one of their main things. You go in there and when there's people at the tables, they're pretty much just playing Magic. Occasionally you get a D&D group, or occasionally I'll see people playing like Warhammer or something. But most of the time it's people actually usually jamming Commander. I'm not, I'm not trying to say that it's the best format ever, but it is the best format ever. So all right, so what else do you guys already have figured out? You have the guild leaders figured out. There's going to be 10. You have most of those, or no, we do have all those slots filled out. The signets as like your gym badges, a lot of the challenges, achievements, there's a lot of stuff going on. So what else is there, and is there anything left to do, I guess is a big question.
Yep. So right now what we have left to do, there's some I's to dot and some T's to cross, so to speak. We want to get the achievement list to 25. Mm-hmm. And so we have 20 of them as of this morning, so we need to come up with 5 more. And the guild halls, at a cursory glance, looks like only about half of them are good to go. So we want to get those done by Saturday. But, the person who's playing Saturday, his is good to go. So he could fire without anyone else if he wanted to. Besides that, we're waiting for challengers to register their decks, and hopefully, even if they do it the day of, that'll be fine. So I'm not really concerned about it. So that's the stuff we need to get done before we fire, so to speak. And if we get that done, I'm happy and we'll be ready for the test.
Yeah.
Next iteration, a lot of the structure, and it would have to be tweaked if any of it didn't work. Maybe some of these achievements won't work, and maybe the concept of guild halls, maybe we might design new ones, or if we're doing 3 colors, maybe for expediency we keep them or we tweak them. Those are probably, and I'll be honest with you, the number of people who have gotten themselves overexcited for the next iteration with 3 colors, it's guys, I love the energy and I'm excited for that too. But I have trouble focusing on stuff sometimes, and I need to focus on the one we're almost done with. I'm going to finish this project.
Yeah. Let's do one thing. Let's do step 1 before we get excited about step 2.
I need to actively deny my impulse to start a shiny new project, guys. Help me out here.
Yeah. I think it'll be good though, because once you do, have a few of the games and kind of see where it's going, you can kind of have a meeting afterward where it's like an after actions report. What worked, what didn't work, did anything come up that helped in the middle of, the games or the league planning and scheduling? Did anything not work that we need to either take out or look at it and stuff like that? So I think as long as you give yourself time to do that, right? And that's going to be very important.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's gonna be the tricky part, especially because I have a high demand for people ready to fire the next league. I'm like, guys, you're gonna have to give me time of signups and things. We're probably the conservative estimate would probably 2-3 weeks after this league ends.
Yeah,
would be the time period for review and restructure and everything. I would be surprised if we fire the next league any sooner than a month after this one ends.
Yeah, I would think. I mean, so. I would even try to look at tournament structures and scheduling and how the distance is in between them, and that's even though you're doing it virtually, and a lot of the tournament structures used to have needing to move equipment and set up and tear down, blah blah blah. Don't take time out for that. Keep that time in for planning and tweaking and stuff. Yeah. Again, my 2 cents. I am a certified project manager.
I think that's the right approach. Yeah. No, that's the right approach to do it. Really, it is. I know it's the part of me is just wants to get in and play, wants to do it, but the part of me is hey, you have a project people really like, is let's just do this right.
Yeah.
And it's my hope that after we hammer out the details in this particular round, that we will be able to have something that people can mimic themselves. I would like them to just sign up for our league, but if they like the structure, but maybe just want to do it with their friends or whatever, they'll be able to just. I have I would like to get them in a better format, but right now I have Google Docs with our rules and achievements. Basically I would like that to be just an open source. People could be well, here's what they did. We're going to do this copy paste. Yeah. And they could do that.
Yeah, especially because again, your audience is essentially worldwide Magic players. So scheduling comes into it, time zones come into it. There might be people who really want to participate and they just can't because that's just how it is between their life schedule, the guild leaders' life schedules and stuff like that. So I think coming up using this to create a template for how to do something like this is a good idea to serve to really gain more popularity for the idea, right? Because then more people have the opportunity to try it, whether they do it officially under your banner or whatever. Doesn't really matter.
Right, and one of the things about this is this was this idea I think was pretty popular considering I'm not a big name. Our league is 20-ish people, but that number looks much smaller once you remember that you have to allocate 10 of those spots to the guild leaders.
Yeah, and
we're giving them the option to play if they want, but most of them no, this is going to be a time commitment. I just want to defend my gym, and that's great too. But that's one of those things where one challenge I foresee is in order to do this league, you do need at least 20 people to sign up because, you need 10 to be the guild leaders. And would it really be a league if you had 3 other players?
Yeah. I mean, well, in Pokemon, really, it's 2 characters, the main character and the rival.
That's true. You just have 3 people race, but then you need a different Elite Four concept. So what I wanted this to be for the live event would actually be, in the ideal, would have been each guild leader is like a content creator. So like just playing them is kind of like a fun thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Elite Four would be like 4 content creators.
Okay.
And you actually play like, I don't know, Secret Partners or King. Like that was kind of like the if this had enough support ideal situation. I kind of envision like those old Yu-Gi-Oh games that you could get like the Nintendo DS or whatever.
Yeah.
Like where you like just play against a bot. I was kind of seeing that, but like Magic. And instead of like, that was kind of like what I saw is like, you know, all these people would stand in for the boss and they just have to play a couple games, be stationary at a table or whatever. You know, but you need a lot more support for that because, you know, we were fortunate in that a lot of people who write or stream, like a lot of people kind of fell into that niche, were interested. You know, but that would be the ideal, would be even the Elite Four, instead of being the first 4 people with signets, the first person with 10 signets would do it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, again, let's see how much attention you generate from the first one, because enough people start like talking about it on Twitter or Facebook or whatever, and you might attract more, you know, higher profile content creators who then can, like, you can even use them as your Elite Four. You know what I mean? Like, have the star power be, because I mean, in the games, right? That's really what the Elite Four is. Like, yes, everybody knows the gym leaders, but then the Elite Four are the Elite Four, so you can kind of do it that way,
right? Yeah, so like there's a lot of potential there. I'm like really want to like have something like that work out, but right now I think, you know, figure out the template and 4 people get to the finals, like those ones. So I think that's a good starting point. And, you know, if we get attention, we can maybe adjust the, like right now, like an Elite Four wouldn't even work on VEDH because you can't have 5 players.
Yeah. You'd have to probably do it where, like, maybe the Elite Four person has like 2 cronies or whatever. I don't know. This all goes back to how we kind of like the initial. I remember I was involved a little bit in the initial like guild hall conversation where like you don't want it to be 1 versus 3, but then what is the incentive
every time?
For, but what's the incentive then for the 2 people who are essentially filling out the game?
Right. Exactly. So it's like, you know, the way I see it, you know, we have 3 challengers every time, you know, but then the problem we had was, well, the one way you don't get a signet is for the gym leader to win.
Yeah.
So that incentivizes it to turn into arch enemy, which is why one of the other reasons the guild halls are there is to kind of give the guild leader an ability to kind of prevent it from becoming arch enemy.
Yeah.
You know, so like obviously everyone designed their guild halls with like their commander in mind, but one of the guidelines I gave was you can't just staple stuff that's good for you. It has to be something. It has to be symmetrical in a way where everybody has access to the benefit, even if your deck benefits from it slightly more.
Yeah. It has to be some kind of a generic effect. Generic enough effect, I guess.
Yeah, it has to be something where, like someone talked about, like, the thing doing tokens, and, like, well, that's not very specific. Like, not everyone has tokens. I'm like, you know, just give an activate ability where they can make tokens.
Yeah.
You know, so if they want that ability, it's there. Like, you don't have to make it, like, aggressively costed or anything. Just give them the ability, if they don't have tokens, to make tokens. Because, you know, you'll have a turn where you don't have anything to spend your mana on.
Yeah.
You know, you hold up mana for a counter spell, and you don't end up countering it, make a token.
Yeah, mana sinks are great. All right.
Exactly. So like, I was like, that's the compromise there.
Yeah. So how do people find out more information? Obviously, they can get with you on Twitter, and then there's a Discord server, which I'll make sure there is a link to that server in the video description below. But how else can people get involved?
All right. So those are the best ways. You know, we do have several. If you also, like, if you don't want to reach out to me, there are content creators you might be following you can reach out to, and they can talk to you about it as well. The folks at MTG Lexicon have been great and very helpful, and Brandon from there is going to be one of our guild leaders. Also, if you follow Josh, Burning Inquiry, he writes for Bleeding Cool. He's also doing this. So any of my guild leaders, you know, they're great. All right. So besides reaching me at Twitter or joining the Discord is going to be the best way, by the way, because that's where all the conversations are happening. You know, we might do something bigger down the road, but right now Discord is fine. You know, if people just want to like check out the league rules and maybe like consider it, you know, I do have the Google Doc links. But if you don't want to come to me, there are some folks you can ask questions for. If you follow MTG Lexicon, they've been very supportive. They helped me flesh out some of this stuff beforehand. Nick is one of the mods in the Discord, and Brandon is going to be one of our guild leaders. And then, of course, Seth and Valdur from Praetor Gaming, not Magic.
Don't worry, I still do it too.
Yeah. So the 2 of them are in there. Valder may be one of our guild leaders. He needs to make a decision about that, but I'm not rushing it. They can answer questions, and if they don't know, they'll come to me. And we just have a whole bunch of content creators and streamers. So there's too many to name. I don't have all of their real world names or Twitter handles to redirect to them all.
Yep. I'll try to make sure I'll get with you after, when I'm putting this up for YouTube, and try to get as many as I can. Put them in the video description. I'll make sure the links for the Google Docs, the Discord, obviously your handle are all in the video description below. So if you are interested, go down there, try to find Paul, try to find the Discord, try to find the Google Docs and everything like that. That'll get you the most information that you could possibly get. So all right, any final thoughts or last words?
Well, I think that I'm really excited for the league, and I'll tell you right now, I'm not a guild leader for this one at the moment, but I am absolutely going to be the Bant guild leader when we do 3-color.
Oh snap! I may have to try to do Sultai or Abzan.
Yeah, you definitely got to represent Sultai. And Angelo, if you're watching this either in the chat or if you're watching it on demand, I am going to aggressively recruit you to be Jeskai.
No. See, that's actually we should switch.
Oh, yeah, that'd be funny.
He should be the Sultai, and I should be the Jeskai one, and then we'll see who can do the other person's stuff better.
Right.
I'm challenging you, Angelo. I'm calling you out.
Yep. You gotta grow back to go team be Mirror World, Seth.
Well, I gotta be in regs.
Okay. It's against regs. I didn't realize.
Yeah.
The mustache is okay. Beard, no.
Yeah, actually, I think I'm technically a little out of regs, but nobody's noticed yet. So shh. All right. So moving forward, guys, make sure you are joining us every Monday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time for these. We always have a special guest. Thank you very much for being here, Paul. It was a lot of fun. I really like this idea. I really hope it takes off and we get not just one more, but multiple other ones, or we just see people firing off their own. That'd be really cool too. So we'll be doing our best to kind of help promote it and everything like that. So again, though, thank you for coming on and explaining it and entertaining us.
Yep. Thank you. And signups are going to be opened. We did close them after Halloween, but because we're doing the stream today, we're opening them up again until this coming Saturday, I think it's the 15th, 14th, Saturday the 14th. So, if you want to sign up between now and then, you can. I'd really like to see all of you there because I want to see you be the very best like no one ever was.
I like it. The tagline. Oh, God, I'm demonetized now. For the rest of this week, tomorrow at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time, I'm going to be doing the Malcolm and Breaches version of the Alchemist Refuge. That's the stream where I basically sit down and I'm brewing over 100 decks because I don't have enough options on Magic Online. So yeah, we're going to go through my huge list of, now it's getting to be about 120 because we added Blim to it, and now we're adding Is It Pirates? It is Pirates, by the way. God, I hate myself for that. Wednesday, Phyrexian's going to be continuing his Heart Gold stream. That's going to be at 8 p.m. Eastern time, not 8:30. He's also going to do that on Sunday. Thursday, he is going to be doing 3DH at 8:30. And Friday, I'm going to try to get a VDH stream on the schedule. We'll see how it goes. I think I have people for this week and some for next week. But like I said, just kind of keep up on the Discord and on the Twitter. All of those things will be in the video description down below for you to have easy access to, but that'll keep you kind of notified on where we are with that. So that's all we got for y'all. Hope you have a good night and peace.
Long and prosper.